عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. My dear respected brothers and sisters, Jazakallah khair first to the administration for facilitating this event. When they first mentioned this, the thought came to my mind, Khalid bin Walid radiallahu anhu, when he went in the expedition of Yarmouk, and that time, that journey, that passageway from Arabia over to Yarmouk Peninsula, it was to be done in the peak of summer. And at that time it was unthinkable that somebody could cross the desert, much less with an army. And the reason it reminded me of that is that, subhanallah, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala desires to open our minds and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala desires to utilize us for the service of deen, then he puts things in our minds which we could never have imagined. We leverage suddenly tools that we never thought of, never thought were possible. So when Khalid, when he made that journey through the desert, it said that he took 6 camels and he loaded them up with water, and he would tie the mouth of the camel with a rope. And then as they were going through the journey, even though there was no spring, there was no oasis, there was no water on that journey, the belly of the camel was full. And as they would make their way each step of the journey, they would slaughter one of the camels and take the water out of the stomach of that camel and feed the army with the water and keep on proceeding. And because such a journey was unthinkable, when they actually reached the Yarmouk Peninsula, everybody was surprised. The Romans were surprised that how can such people cross the desert? So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to use us for the service of deen, he opens our minds to these possibilities for this, for this platform. Even though the masajid are closed, even though that we have to make our own Ramadan this month. Previously, the masjid would provide the services. If we felt we needed to, we would go to the masjid, the services would be there. Maybe there's tafsir after Maghrib, Tarawih after Isha, and everything would be there. But this month we find ourselves in a special circumstance in this global pandemic. And just 2 things I want to highlight, today and tomorrow. Inshallah, just 2 main highlights is, number 1, never despair in the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And number 2, the conviction in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that yaqeen that we have in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's ability to provide for us, that is the gateway to all good things in this universe. Not just in this universe, but in the next universe as well, in the next world as well. So, nowadays, in the world of psychology, every time they start a meeting, they start with what they call a mindful moment. And, you trace like the history of mindfulness and these, cognitive behavioral concepts, you trace them back actually to the early Muslims. Within a few centuries of the death of the Prophet ﷺ, there were Muslim scholars who were talking about these concepts. But, we think we apply these practices to ourselves in our own world, and we incorporate, that original Islamic philosophy that, wherever we find ourselves. Right now, we are communicating through this medium, which is, transmitted through circuitry. While we're, in this medium, we're sitting on a planet. This planet is moving tens, hundreds of thousands of miles through the universe. It's on such a specific rotation that if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala were to change the rotation 1 degree, either towards the sun, away from the sun, life would be unsustainable in this world. We take the moment to realize all the blessings that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has conferred upon us, conferred upon our families, from the time that we are born, those stages that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala used to bring us about in our existence. The fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wrote everything that we will, all of our risk, all the things that we will obtain in this world, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wrote even before we were born. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who sustains not just the human beings, but every living thing in this universe. We have to take time to reflect upon this, reflect upon the greatness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Imagine, today, if one wants to provide for their family, it's an ordeal. If one wants to provide for themselves, it's an ordeal. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has taken the responsibility to provide for all of the creation. Not just the mankind, but the birds in the sky, the fish in the sea. Is there any one of us, is there any human being that can take that responsibility on their back? We have to reflect on all these bounties of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have to tap into that ocean that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us, that Rasulullah sallam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala deputed Rasulullah sallam to this world to provide us with those tools by which we can tap into the treasures of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the treasures of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are infinite. And what are those tools that Rasulullah sallam has taught us? That salah that we perform, that adhkar that we perform, the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These are the tools that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent to humanity to avail of the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the treasures of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whosoever in their life they believed in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and they incorporated this belief into their heart, they were able to extract the treasures of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But those nations which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has shown us in the Quran, which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent Rasulullah to teach us in the Hadith, those nations which rejected the treasures of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and instead put their belief and their conviction in their own attributes, in their own characteristics. My dear brothers and sisters, we know that this deen, this beautiful religion which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent us, it was not given to us on the basis of our intelligence. If it was given to us on the basis of our intelligence, there are many people in this world who are much smarter than you and I, and they don't have this deen. It wasn't given to us on the basis of our physical strength, because there are many people in this world, they are much physically stronger than you and I. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has not blessed us with this deen. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has selected us with this deen. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has chosen us with this deen out of His mercy, out of His love for us, out of His desire for humanity to succeed and humanity to prosper. And we see those nations in the past which rejected the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and said that, we look at the nation of Ad, which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about, Qawm Ad. Their belief was not that success is by Allah, success is through Allah. Their belief was success is through physical strength. And they said, Man ashadda minna quwwa. Who is there in this world that is stronger than us? They were such a nation that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put in this world. They would grab the root of the palm tree. And the palm tree is one of the strongest trees. The roots are so deep into the ground. But they were given such physical prowess, physical strength. They would grab the palm tree and rip it out from the ground. And there was another nation, Qawm Thamud. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had gifted them with intelligence, but their belief was not, their conviction was not that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one that provides, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one that sustains. Their conviction was that the intelligence in my mind is the reason that we are an advanced nation. And they were such a nation that they were able to build their homes deep into the mountains, in such ways that even modern archaeology, modern architecture cannot replicate the intricacy and the detail by which they used to build their caves in the mountain. And their concern was not how we can be safe from the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Their concern was, how can we be safe from the creation? How can we be safe from the created things? And they came after the time of Nuh alayhi salam. And they looked and they thought, when the punishment came to Nuh alayhi salam's nation, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had sent the water, and the water came and destroyed the nation before. So their concern was not that how can we be safe from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Their concern was, how can we be safe from the water? How can we be safe from the created things? And they built their houses even higher into the mountains. And what happened to these two nations, the nations of Ad, the nations of Thamud? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent the divine punishment and destroyed these two nations. The storm that wiped out the nation of Ad, and the angel that came down and made such a loud sound that penetrated the homes in these caves, in these mountains, and suddenly destroyed these nations. These are the examples that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives to us of those people who take their conviction, who take this heart, which, they say that there's only one thing in this world which is capable of containing that love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not a physical thing, but the human heart. So they took that blessing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them, and they put that love, they put that conviction in their own attributes. But those nations which discarded the conviction in their own attributes and put their trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala showed us in the Quran that these were the successful people. We see, in the Ashab Kahf, 309 years, they are in the cave, sleeping, out of the fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And how did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala provide for them? Tossing and turning in that cave, they woke up. One person said, we slept maybe for half a day. We slept for maybe a day. The other person said, no, a day is too long, maybe just half a day. And 309 years, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is sustaining them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is sustaining their bodies. Today we know that, somebody's laying in the same place, even for weeks, they start getting bed sores, they start getting DVTs, all sorts of medical complications. But these things are these are physical limitations which do not apply to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We see that this whole universe is in the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When anybody obeys Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there is no obstacle towards getting that treasure from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, getting that safety from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ibrahim alayhi salam, when he's being thrown into the fire, we see that he's thrown into that such a hot fire, the birds used to fly over that fire and they would become cooked just from flying over that fire. Bardan wa salam ala Ibrahim. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala just sent that commandment. There's so many ways Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala could have extinguished that fire. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala could have taken a water and extinguished the fire. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala could have taken dirt and extinguished that fire. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, kun fayakun. Whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wills, it happens. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala just gave the commandment to the fire to stop burning. And the property, that physical property that fire has to burn, ceased to exist. Because anything and everything in this universe is solely in the control of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When our hearts turn towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, those vast treasures of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala open. And when we use those tools which Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has given us, has taught us, that salah which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had summoned Rasulullah sallallahu in the Miraj, in the ascension, and given that gift to humanity, by which, today we have those tools, we have the appearance of those tools. If I show you a picture of your favorite vacation destination, some island vacation, it's not the same as actually being there. Today we find ourselves in the same dilemma. We look at the salah that we're performing from the outside. It is the same salah that was being performed in the time of Rasulullah. If that zakat that we're giving, the appearance of it is the same, but what has changed? The scholars, they tell us that, what is required today, we see so much difficulty in the ummah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, ease the affairs of the ummah, ease the affairs of all people who are struggling, all people who are struggling from health problems or monetary problems. But, the scholars, they tell us what is required today is not changing the actions that are there. We're not going to add extra salah, na'udhu billah. We're not going to add extra amal that are there. But the heart, the condition of the heart, the yaqeen that exists, the conviction in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has to change. It is not a change of a'mal, it's not a change of action, but it's a flipping of the heart. That conviction we have in the material things, in the physical things, has to turn towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we saw that in the lives of the Sahaba Radhanam. Rasulullah sallam, they say the night before Badr, the battle of Badr, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had shown Rasulullah sallam the spot where each and every one of the non-believers, the kuffar, where they would perish. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed that to him. But still, that whole night, Rasulullah sallam is crying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that if this band of Muslims is erased from this world, who is there going to be left in this world to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to ask for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to say Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's name? Ya Hayyu Ya Qayyum bi rahmatika nastagheeth aslih lana sha'na kullah wa la takilna ila anfusina tarfat ayn. That is the dua that Rasulullah sallam is making the night of Badr. That was the conviction. That was, they say that there is no word in any language which can capture that pain that was present in the heart of Rasulullah sallam. What sacrifice he had to go through. Rasulullah sallam said to the near meaning that no people before me and no people after me will undergo as much sacrifice as me for this deen. We are the inheritors of this legacy. We as Muslims, each and every one of us, brothers and sisters, we have to claim this legacy as ours, not on the basis of race, not on the basis of language, not on the basis of ethnicity, but on the basis of this kalima la ilaha illallah. From the time of Adam alayhi salam to the time of Rasulullah sallam and to now, qulu la ilaha illallah tuflihu. This was the message of the messengers, that whoever believes in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whoever says la ilaha illallah, they will become successful. We have to take this message of success. This deen does not just mean success in the next life. It means success in everybody's job, success in everybody's shops, success in humanity. I see, from my day job, how much depression, anxiety exists in the world today, where there is no meaning towards life anymore. People have lost that meaning, even despite science having progressed at rapid rates. Man has landed on the moon. Man has discovered the stars. Man has explored some depths of the ocean, but man has forgotten who their creator is. And this was the message of deen. This was the message that all the Anbiya alayhi salam came. It was the consistent message, which did not end with Rasulullah sallam. But, whereas the burden of spreading the message in the past was deputed to each messenger individually, today Rasulullah sallam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent Rasulullah sallam to deputize us, to make us as the messengers of the messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That each and every one of us is now entrusted to take this message, to take this belief of conviction and spread it to all of humanity, spread it to our neighbors, Muslim and non-Muslim, spread it to everybody in this world, that deen is success in your life, deen is success in your job, deen is success in your degree, deen is success. We have to grasp this message of success, imbibe it, inculcate it in our own lives, spread it to those around us, spread it to our children, spread it to our neighbors. And for this, we all as an ummah, we need to stick together. The Sahaba radhiyallahu, each and every one of them had different attributes by which they were successful. Some of them were very good merchants. Some of them would stand all night in salah. Some of them never prayed salah in their life, but they strove in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepted them as shaheed. And when they came together, those 20 years after the death of Rasulullah, we saw the entire landscape of the world changed. And that didn't come from each and every one of them being good at everything. It came because they took their strengths, came together as an ummah, and nothing could stop them at that point. Today, those same attributes exist in the life of each and every one of us. Some of us, we have, this quality of khidmah, of service to others, which is, remarkable. Some of us, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us maybe professional skills. Some of us given different attributes. And individually, it is difficult to, we are living in the global pandemic. Individually, it is hard. It is a struggle. But when we come together as an ummah, when we bring our talents together as an ummah, when we stand shoulder to shoulder, when we help each other out, that your children are my children are your children, and we have this concern, because that is the concern. That is the one sunnah that really we don't see today. Even though the sunnah of appearance is there, the sunnah of a'mal is there, but the sunnah of concern and fikr for each and every one of this ummah, that is missing, and that we have to bring back in our life. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us all tawfiq to bring this missing sunnah back into our life. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq to have this conviction of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that will erase any doubt. Today, and I don't want to take too long, I know the time is just running out, just a final thought, that the life we live in today is filled with so much doubt. Never has mankind had so much doubt, not before in different things, but today, even in the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Na'udhu billah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala save us from this. And I see this so much in the youth, just from the work that I do. And when we are able to tap into the awesomeness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that spirituality, those treasures which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestowed on this ummah, even the thought of doubting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can simply never exist. There are certain thoughts we would never consider, right? Work-life balance. Nobody says that, oh, there should never be work-life balance. It's not conceivable as a thought that this shouldn't exist. Nobody says that, oh, well, we should only eat a particular food and we should eliminate, we should eat as human beings the most efficient food there and eliminate all types of other foods. That thought doesn't exist, because we understand how much joy there is, how much value there is in having these luxuries in our life. Similarly, when we are able to tap into that awesome power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which keeps us going every day, those doubts will disappear from the minds of the ummah, especially the youth. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us this conviction, give us this iman, give us this belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and pass it on to our progeny. And inshallah, the talk we will continue tomorrow, inshallah, at the same time. Jazakallah khair, everybody, for attending.